I am Tyler, 30 years old, and I spent $12,000 on a dream Hawaii vacation for my family. 3 years of saving countless hours, planning the perfect trip to celebrate my parents' anniversary. Then 1 week before departure, my dad called with shocking news I was being replaced by my sister, Jessica's unemployed fiancé, Raymond. They expected me to just step aside and smile. If you think that was the end of the story, you have no idea what was coming. Before I tell you how I made them regret their decision forever, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, hit that like button, and subscribe to see more stories of sweet, sweet justice. Growing up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in a modest 2-story house with faded blue siding and a constantly unmowed lawn, was a typical middle-class existence. My father, Martin, worked as a high school history teacher, while my mother, Eleanor, managed a local bank branch. They provided us with everything we needed, though rarely anything we wanted. We were not poor, but luxuries were few and far between. I learned early that anything beyond the basics required my own effort. When I wanted a computer at 14, I mowed lawns all summer. When college came around, I worked night shifts at a gas station while maintaining a full scholarship. Everything I achieved came through hard work and determination. My younger sister Jessica, on the other hand, seemed to operate under a different set of rules. 3 years younger than me, she possessed a natural talent for getting our parents to give her whatever she wanted. Whether it was extending curfew, borrowing the car, or receiving expensive birthday gifts, Jessica mastered the art of wide eyes and quivering lips that melted our parents' resolve. Jessica is just more sensitive, my mother would say whenever I pointed out the disparity in treatment. She needs more support. Our relationship was complicated. I loved my sister, but her pattern of manipulation and entitlement created a constant undercurrent of tension. As children, we fought over toys and television shows. As teenagers, we fought over bathroom time and parental attention. As adults, we fought over family dynamics and priorities. After graduating with a computer science degree, I landed a job at a software company that specialized in healthcare systems. The work was challenging but fulfilling, and I quickly built a reputation as someone who could solve complex problems efficiently. 3 promotions in 5 years put me in a senior developer position with a comfortable salary and excellent benefits. Jessica followed a different path. She studied psychology, but never pursued a career in the field. Instead, she bounced between retail jobs and administrative positions, never staying anywhere longer than a year. Her true passion seemed to be finding broken men and trying to fix them. "I can see his potential" became her catchphrase with each new relationship. Raymond entered the picture 3 years ago. Tall and lanky, with perpetually uncombed hair and wrinkled clothes, he had been laid off from his accounting job the week before meeting Jessica at a coffee shop. Their connection was immediate, and Jessica brought him home to meet the family within a month. "He is just between opportunities right now," Jessica explained during that first dinner where Raymond ate 3 helpings of my mother's pot roast while explaining how corporate America had wronged him. 3 years later, Raymond remained between opportunities. He had a seemingly endless supply of interviews that went nowhere, and potential jobs that fell through at the last minute. Meanwhile, he lived in Jessica's apartment, drove Jessica's car, and spent Jessica's money. "The job market is brutal," he would say while playing video games in the middle of a weekday. "They want experience, but won't give you a chance to get experience." My parents, especially my father, accepted these excuses without question. When I suggested that perhaps Raymond could try harder, my father accused me of being unsympathetic. "Not everyone has your advantages, Tyler," he said, completely ignoring that my advantages were the result of my own hard work. Despite these tensions, I valued my family. As we all grew older and busier, opportunities to spend quality time together became increasingly rare. My parents were approaching their 35th wedding anniversary, and I wanted to do something special to celebrate their milestone and bring us all closer. The idea for a Hawaiian vacation came during a particularly brutal Michigan winter. As I scraped ice from my windshield in sub-zero temperatures, I remembered my parents mentioning that they had always dreamed of visiting Hawaii, but never had the opportunity. My recent promotion and bonus put me in a position to make that dream come true. For over a year, I researched and saved. I opened a separate savings account labeled Family Vacation and contributed to it with every paycheck. I tracked flight prices, daily researched resorts meticulously, and read hundreds of reviews to ensure I was creating the perfect experience. The final package I put together was magnificent. 7 days at an exclusive resort on Maui, with private beach access, spacious ocean view suites, and premium amenities. I arranged for a sunset dinner cruise, a guided tour of the road to Hana snorkeling at Molokini Crater, and a traditional luau. The centerpiece was a private beachfront dinner to celebrate my parents' anniversary, complete with personal chef and photographer. The total cost came to just over $12,000 for 4 people: myself, my parents, and Jessica. It was more money than I had ever spent on anything besides my house, but I believed the memories would be worth every penny. I revealed the surprise at Christmas dinner, presenting each family member with a small box containing a custom luggage tag and a card explaining the trip. "You have got to be kidding me," my father said, his eyes widening as he read the details. My mother actually cried. "Hawaii, our Hawaii. The one we have talked about for 20 years. Jessica squealed and hugged me tighter than she had in years. "This is amazing. I cannot believe you did this." The moment was perfect, until Raymond, who had been silently examining his own luggage tag, spoke up. "So, where is mine?" he asked, looking genuinely confused. An awkward silence fell over the table. Jessica shot him a warning look. "The trip is for our immediate family," I explained gently. "It is a gift for Mom and Dad's anniversary." Raymond's face darkened. "But I am practically family. Jessica and I have been together for 3 years." "I know, and that is great," I said, maintaining my composure. "But this is a special trip I planned for just the 4 of us. I hope you understand." He did not understand. Neither, as it turned out, did Jessica, who cornered me in the kitchen later. "Why would you exclude Raymond?" she demanded. "That was humiliating for him." "Jessica, this trip cost me $12,000, I explained. "Adding another person would be thousands more that I simply do not have." "You could have planned for 5 people from the beginning," she countered. "I planned a family vacation." "Raymond is not family." Her eyes narrowed. "He will be soon. We have been talking about engagement." I sighed, already seeing where this was heading. "When you get engaged, we will celebrate. This trip is about Mom and Dad's 35 years of marriage." Jessica stormed off, and I foolishly believed that would be the end of it. I had no idea that this was just the beginning of a battle that would test the very foundation of our family. January through March was filled with excited planning. I created a shared digital folder where I uploaded itineraries, confirmation numbers, packing suggestions, and photos of the resort and activities. Every detail was meticulously arranged to ensure a smooth, stress-free experience. We established a tradition of Sunday family dinners, where I would bring updates about the trip. My mother started a Hawaiian-themed recipe experiment, attempting to recreate dishes we might encounter. My father began reading books about Hawaiian history and culture. Jessica purchased a new swimsuit collection and expensive sunglasses. Raymond's attendance at these dinners grew increasingly problematic. While everyone else bubbled with excitement, he sat sullenly pushing food around his plate, occasionally making passive-aggressive comments. "Must be nice to have $12,000 to throw around," he muttered during one dinner as I showed everyone photos of the helicopter tour I had booked. "It is the result of saving and planning," I replied evenly. "I put aside money from every paycheck for over a year." "Some of us do not have paychecks to put aside," he shot back. An uncomfortable silence followed before my mother quickly changed the subject to ask about snorkeling options. By February, Jessica began a subtle campaign to include Raymond. It started with innocent-sounding questions. "So how much would it cost to add one more person?" she asked casually. "Over dessert one Sunday." "Several $1,000s," I answered truthfully. The package was designed for 4 people. Adding a 5th would mean rebooking almost everything. "But is it possible?" she pressed. "Technically, yes, but financially, no. I simply do not have several thousand extra dollars." Jessica frowned. What if Raymond paid his own way? Raymond, who had been silently eating his 3rd piece of pie, suddenly choked. "What?" "If you want to come, you could pay for yourself," Jessica said to him. Raymond quickly backpedaled. "I mean, I would love to pay, but you know my situation right now. once this job at my buddy's startup comes through next month. It was the same excuse he had been using for years. The mythical job that was always just around the corner. My parents, who had remained neutral until this point, began showing signs of shifting loyalty. My father cleared his throat during an awkward pause. You know, Tyler, maybe we could find a way to include Raymond. He is practically part of the family now. I felt a twinge of betrayal at my father's words. Dad, I planned and paid for a trip for the four of us. I simply cannot afford to add another person. We understand, my mother interjected, though her tone suggested otherwise. But family is about inclusion, not exclusion. I am not excluding anyone, I defended myself. I am giving a gift within my means. As the weeks passed, the pressure intensified. Jessica stopped contributing to trip planning discussions, and instead spent Sunday dinners whispering with Raymond or making pointed comments about real families sticking together. My mother began calling me privately with suggestions for how to accommodate Raymond. Maybe you could share a room with your father, and Raymond could stay with Jessica, she proposed. Mom, I booked 2-bedroom suites, specifically, so everyone would have privacy. I explained for what felt like the 100th time. The resort has strict occupancy rules. We cannot just add people to rooms. Well, there must be some solution, she persisted. Jessica is very upset about this. The solution is for Jessica to enjoy a week with her family and spend time with Raymond before and after the trip, I said firmly. 3 weeks before departure, things came to a head at Sunday dinner. Jessica arrived already upset, her eyes red from crying. Raymond followed behind her, looking more smug than sullen for once. Halfway through the meal, Jessica dropped her fork loudly against her plate. I cannot do this anymore. This whole trip is becoming a nightmare. What are you talking about? My father asked. This trip is a wonderful gift. Not if it tears apart my relationship, Jessica said dramatically. Raymond and I had a huge fight last night because he feels like my family does not accept him. All eyes turned to me, as if I were solely responsible for Raymond's feelings. That is not fair, I said. This trip has nothing to do with accepting or not accepting Raymond. It is about celebrating Mom and Dad's anniversary as a family. But Raymond is family, Jessica insisted, her voice rising. Or at least he will be. We are talking about getting engaged soon. Then we will celebrate your engagement with another trip, I said, trying to remain calm. This trip is already planned and paid for. You are just being selfish. Jessica accused, tears streaming down her face. You have always been selfish, keeping score and counting pennies. Her words stung, especially since I was the one who had spent $12,000 on a family vacation that included her. Jessica, that is enough, my mother said. Half-heartedly, though. She made no real attempt to defend me. My father sighed heavily. Perhaps we need to reconsider the arrangements for this trip. Those words sent a chill through me. What does that mean? It means we need to find a compromise that works for everyone, he said vaguely. The dinner ended awkwardly with Jessica and Raymond leaving early and my parents avoiding eye contact with me. As I drove home, a sense of dread settled in my stomach. The trip I had poured my heart, soul, and savings into was being corrupted by family politics and Raymond's entitlement. Still, I held on to hope that my parents would eventually see reason. They knew how much I had sacrificed for this trip. They understood that adding Raymond was not just a financial impossibility, but would fundamentally change the nature of the family vacation I had planned. I spent the next 2 weeks finalizing details with the travel agent, receiving confirmation emails, and preparing for what I still hoped would be a magical experience. I purchased new swim trunks, reef-safe sunscreen, and a high-quality underwater camera. I downloaded Hawaiian language apps and practiced basic phrases. I researched local customs and traditions to ensure we would be respectful visitors. The night before everything fell apart, I was in my bedroom packing my suitcase, mentally reviewing all the arrangements and feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. Despite the tension with Jessica and Raymond, I still believed this trip would strengthen our family bonds and create lifelong memories. My phone rang at 9:15 p.m. When I saw my father's name on the screen, I answered with a smile, assuming he had a last-minute question about packing or airport transportation. I had no idea that call would shatter all my plans and force me to reevaluate everything I thought I knew about my family. Tyler, we need to talk about the Hawaii trip. My father began, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. Sure, Dad. What is up? Need help with packing tropical clothes? I joked, completely unaware of what was coming. There was an uncomfortable pause. No, son. It is about. Well, it is about the arrangements. Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. What arrangements? He cleared his throat. Your mother and I have been talking with Jessica, and we think it might be best if Raymond comes on the trip instead of you. For a moment, I thought I had misheard him. Instead of me? What are you talking about, Dad? I planned this trip. I paid for this trip. I know, he said quickly. And we appreciate that, we really do. But Jessica is absolutely devastated at the thought of being away from Raymond for a week. They are talking about getting engaged soon, you know. And she says he is going through a rough patch right now. The same rough patch he had been going through for 3 years. I thought bitterly. Dad, this is crazy. You cannot be serious right now. Tyler tried to understand. Jessica says their relationship might not survive if she goes on this vacation without him. She has been crying for days. Your mother is worried about her. My disbelief was quickly turning to anger. So your solution is to kick me off the trip that I paid $12,000 for, the trip that I spent a year planning. We would pay you back eventually, he offered weakly. This is not about the money, I nearly shouted. This is about respect and appreciation. I did this as a gift for the family. And now you are telling me I am not welcome on my own vacation. Of course you are welcome, my father said, though his actions suggested otherwise. It is just that Raymond needs this opportunity more than you do. You have a good job, a stable life. Raymond is struggling, and this vacation could really lift his spirits. I could not believe what I was hearing. So I should give up my spot because I worked hard and made good choices, while Raymond deserves a reward for being unemployed for 3 years. That is not fair, Tyler. Not everyone has the same opportunities. Dad, I worked night shifts at a gas station to put myself through college. I saved for years to afford this trip. What opportunities exactly did I have that Raymond did not? My mother's voice suddenly came on the line. She must have been listening on another phone. Tyler, honey, we know you worked hard for this trip, and we love you for it. But family means making sacrifices sometimes. Jessica and Raymond might be getting married soon. He is going to be part of this family. And I am not, I asked, hurt, cutting through my anger. Of course you are, she said quickly. But you understand about making sacrifices for family. You always have. That was the problem. I had always been the one expected to understand, to compromise, to sacrifice. Jessica never had to. And apparently, neither did Raymond. This is unbelievable, I said. Completely unbelievable. My phone buzzed with an incoming text. It was from Jessica. Please don't ruin this for me. For once, think about someone besides yourself. The audacity of that message nearly made me throw my phone across the room. Tyler, my father's voice returned. We really need you to be the bigger person here. Raymond already took next week off work. What work? I snapped. He has not had a job in 3 years. He has been doing some consulting, my father defended weakly. Playing video games is not consulting, Dad. The point is, my father continued, ignoring my comment. Arrangements have already been discussed. Raymond is packed and ready to go. Jessica has her heart set on him coming along. And what about my heart, Dad? What about the fact that I planned this trip as a gift for our family? What about the fact that I paid for everything? Like I said, we will reimburse you eventually. That is not the point, I was nearly shouting now. The point is that you are choosing Raymond, who has contributed nothing to this family, over your own son. We are not choosing anyone over anyone, my mother interjected. We are just trying to find a solution that makes everyone happy. Everyone except me, I pointed out. You have always been more independent, more self-sufficient, my mother said, as if that were a justification for treating me worse. Jessica needs more emotional support. My phone buzzed again with another text from Jessica. Mom is crying because of you. Hope you are happy. The manipulation was so transparent, it would have been laughable if it were not so infuriating. Let me be very clear, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. This trip was my gift. I paid for it. I planned it. You do not get to decide that I am not included. My father's voice hardened. Tyler, this is not just about you. This is about what is best for the whole family. Apparently, I am not part of the whole family, I shot back. That is not what I meant, and you know it, he said. But I am going to be honest with you. If Raymond does not go on this trip, Jessica will not go either. And if Jessica does not go, your mother will be heartbroken. Is that what you want? To ruin this trip for everyone because you cannot be flexible. I close my eyes, feeling trapped. So my options are to give up my spot to Raymond or be responsible for canceling the family vacation. I would not put it that way, my father hedged. Then how would you put it, Dad? Because that sounds exactly like what you are saying. There was a long pause. We were hoping you would understand, my mother said softly. We were hoping you would want Jessica to be happy. The implication was clear. If I did not give up my spot, I was selfishly ruining everyone's happiness. Never mind that my happiness was being completely disregarded. I need to think about this, I said finally. We need to know by tomorrow morning, my father pressed. The flight is in 6 days, and if changes need to be made, they need to be made now. Fine. I will call you tomorrow. I hung up and sat on the edge of my bed, surrounded by my half-packed suitcase, feeling like I had been punched in the stomach. 3 years of saving, countless hours of planning, $12,000 spent, all to be pushed aside for Raymond. I did not sleep that night. I paced my house, alternating between rage, hurt, and disbelief. Around 3 a.m, I tried calling my mother, hoping she might be more reasonable in a one-on-one conversation. Mom, please try to understand how hurtful this is, I pleaded. I do understand, honey, she said, though her tone suggested otherwise. But sometimes we have to put others' needs before our own. Jessica is in a fragile place right now. And what about me? Does anyone care about how I feel? Of course we do, she said automatically. But you have always been stronger, more independent. In other words, my feelings mattered less because I did not throw tantrums like Jessica. My final attempt was to reach out directly to Jessica the next morning. Can we talk about this Hawaii situation? I texted her. Her response came quickly. There is nothing to talk about. If you cared about my happiness at all, this would not even be a question. I called her anyway. Jessica, this trip was supposed to be about family, about Mom and Dad's anniversary. And Raymond is going to be family, she insisted. We are talking about getting engaged soon. You have been talking about getting engaged soon for 2 years, I pointed out. See? This is exactly why Raymond feels unwelcome. You have never given him a chance. I gave him plenty of chances. He has been living off you for 3 years while contributing nothing. He is between jobs, she defended. The economy is tough right now. The economy is booming, Jessica. Unemployment is at a record low. There are help-wanted signs in every window. Not for his specialized skills, she insisted. What specialized skills? He was an entry-level accountant for 6 months before getting laid off. You are just jealous because I have found someone who truly loves me, she said, resorting to her usual deflection tactics. This conversation is pointless, I said finally. You clearly do not care how hurtful this is to me. And you clearly do not care about anyone but yourself, she shot back before hanging up. As I sat alone in my kitchen that morning, staring at my cooling coffee, I realized a painful truth. My family did not value my contribution or my feelings. They saw my hard work and generosity as an expectation rather than something to appreciate. I was viewed as an endless resource to be tapped for the benefit of others, particularly Jessica and now Raymond. The realization was devastating, but also clarifying. If my family saw me this way, perhaps it was time I showed them exactly what they were taking for granted. I called my best friend Marcus around noon, desperately needing perspective from someone who was not enmeshed in the family drama. They want you to do what Marcus exclaimed after I explained the situation? Are they out of their minds? Apparently, I sighed, pacing my living room. Dad gave me an ultimatum. Either Raymond goes in my place, or the family vacation is canceled. And you paid for everything, Marcus clarified. Every last penny. $12,000. Dude, that is insane. They cannot just kick you off your own vacation. According to my father, they can. He says I need to be the bigger person and let Raymond take my spot. Marcus snorted. The bigger person. How about they be decent people and tell Jessica and her freeloader boyfriend to get lost? His indignation was validating. At least someone understood how unreasonable this was. So what are you going to do? Marcus asked. I ran my hand through my hair, torn between my anger and my desire to avoid a complete family meltdown. I do not know. If I refuse, Jessica will not go, which means my parents probably will not go either, and the whole trip will be wasted. Or, Marcus said slowly, you give them exactly what they want, but on your terms. What do you mean? They want Raymond to go instead of you. Fine. But they never specified what kind of trip Raymond would be going on. A plan began forming in my mind. The reservations are all in my name. I could make some adjustments. Exactly, Marcus said. They made their choice. Now they get to live with the consequences. After our call, I sat at my computer staring at the email address of my travel agent Lisa. We had worked together for months, creating the perfect luxury vacation package. She had been as excited as I was about the trip, especially the private beachfront dinner she had arranged for my parents' anniversary. Did I really want to go through with this? Would it make me just as bad as they were? As I contemplated, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Thank you for being reasonable. Raymond is so excited. The casual entitlement of her message, the complete lack of gratitude or acknowledgement of my sacrifice, solidified my resolve. I picked up the phone and called Lisa. Tyler, are you all packed and ready for paradise? She answered cheerfully. Lisa, I need to make some changes to the reservation. I said, my voice steady. Oh, what kind of changes? I could hear the concern in her voice. I will not be going on the trip. My sister's boyfriend will be going in my place. I see, she said carefully. We can update the name on your airline ticket for a change fee, but it is quite steep this close to departure. That is fine, I said, but I also need to make some other adjustments to the package. What did you have in mind? I took a deep breath. I need to downgrade everything. Over the next 30 minutes, I systematically dismantled the luxury vacation I had so carefully constructed. The ocean view suites became standard rooms on the mountainside of the resort. The private beachfront anniversary dinner was canceled. The sunset dinner, cruise, the helicopter tour, the guided road to Hana excursion, all canceled. The luau was downgraded from premium seating with an open bar to standard seats with no drinks included. Are you sure about all these changes? Lisa asked, clearly confused. You put so much thought into creating this package. I am sure, I said firmly. One more thing. I need you to remove access to the resort's exclusive beach club and infinity pool. Those were premium add-ons, correct? Yes, they were part of your luxury package, Lisa confirmed. Without them, your family will only have access to the main pool and public beach areas. Perfect, I said. Please make all these changes immediately. It will be done, she said. But Tyler, if you do not mind me asking why, make all these downgrades. I considered how to explain. Let us just say that the value of the trip has been reassessed. After finalizing the changes with Lisa, I felt a mix of satisfaction and guilt. Was I being petty? Perhaps. But there was also a principle at stake. My family needed to understand that there were consequences to their actions and that my generosity should not be taken for granted. For the next 5 days, I maintained radio silence with my family, except for a brief call to my father, confirming that I would step aside for Raymond. He sounded relieved, but not particularly grateful. I knew you would see reason, son, he said. This means so much to Jessica. I am sure it does, I replied neutrally. We will take lots of pictures, so you can see what a great time we had, he added apparently, oblivious to how hurtful that statement was. That will not be necessary, I said. Enjoy your trip. During those 5 days, my family's communication with me consisted entirely of logistical questions. Would I email them the itinerary? Could I forward the hotel confirmation? What was the flight information? Not once did anyone ask how I was feeling about missing the vacation I had planned and paid for. Not once did anyone express genuine gratitude for my sacrifice. The evening before their departure, I received a final confirmation email from Lisa outlining all the changes I had made. Gone was the meticulously crafted luxury experience, replaced by a basic vacation package that, while still in Hawaii, lacked all the special touches that would have made it truly memorable. I forwarded the confirmation to my father with a simple message: "Here is the updated itinerary. Safe travels." He did not respond. That night I tried to quiet the voice in my head, questioning whether I had gone too far. But then I remembered Jessica's smug text and my father's dismissive attitude. I remembered 3 years of Raymond's freeloading and my family's endless excuses for him. I remembered how quickly they had decided that I was expendable. No, I had not gone too far. I had simply adjusted the vacation to match the level of appreciation shown to me. The next morning, I watched from my window as my father's car pulled up to pick up Jessica and Raymond for their drive to the airport. Raymond emerged from Jessica's apartment wearing brand new tropical shirts and carrying expensive-looking luggage, probably purchased by Jessica. He was smiling broadly, utterly unaware of what awaited him in Hawaii. As they drove away, I felt a strange mix of emotions: anger, hurt satisfaction, and a twinge of regret. But mostly, I felt a new sense of resolve. For too long I had allowed my family to take advantage of my generosity and hard work. That ended today. I had planned to spend the week working extra hours to distract myself, but Marcus insisted I take the time off anyway. "Do not let them steal your vacation too," he argued. "Take a staycation. Do all the things you never have time for." It was good advice. I had paid for time off work, and I deserved to enjoy it, even if not in the way I had originally planned. Little did I know that my staycation would be repeatedly interrupted by frantic calls from Hawaii as my family discovered exactly what kind of vacation they had chosen for themselves. The first call came while I was enjoying a late breakfast at my favorite local cafe, about 4 hours after my family's flight had departed. "Tyler, there seems to be some confusion about our flight," my father said, his voice tight with stress. "The airline says, we are booked in basic economy without assigned seating. We are going to be split up throughout the plane." "That is strange," I said, feigning ignorance. "Did you talk to the gate agent?" "Of course I did," he snapped. "They said the reservation was changed last week. Did you do this?" "I made some adjustments to the package when the plans changed," I said calmly. "Basic economy is perfectly adequate for a 5-hour flight." "Your mother and I are not even sitting together," he complained. "That is unfortunate," I replied. "Perhaps someone will be willing to switch seats with you." He made an exasperated sound. "This is not what we expected, Tyler." "Funny," I said. "Neither was being kicked off my own vacation." He hung up without responding. Later that evening, as I was settling in for a movie night at home, my phone rang again. This time it was my mother. "Tyler, there is a problem with the hotel," she said, her voice strained. "They say our rooms have been changed. We are in standard rooms, on the mountainside, with no view of the ocean." "Yes, that is correct," I confirmed. "I had to adjust the accommodations when the plans changed." But the pictures you showed us were of beautiful ocean view suites," she protested. "Those were the original accommodations," I explained. "The ones I booked for myself, you, Dad, and Jessica. When you decided Raymond should take my place, I had to make adjustments to stay within budget." "What budget? You already paid for everything." "I paid for a specific package for 4 specific people," I clarified. "When you changed the people, the package changed too." There was a long pause. "Tyler, the rooms they gave us are barely better than a regular hotel. Raymond and Jessica's room has 2 double beds instead of a king. Your father and I have a partial view of the parking lot." "At least you have a view," I said. "I have a view of my living room wall." "That is not fair," she said. "You chose not to come." The audacity of that statement momentarily left me speechless. "No, Mom," I finally responded. "I did not choose anything. You, Dad, and Jessica decided that Raymond was more important than me. You chose this." "We never said he was more important," she insisted. "Your actions said it clearly enough. She sighed heavily. Is there any way to upgrade back to the original rooms? Of course, I said. Just talk to the front desk and pay the difference. It should only be about $3,000. $3,000, she gasped. That is ridiculous. That is the cost of luxury ocean view suites versus standard rooms, I explained. The same luxury suites I originally booked and paid for. We cannot afford that, she said. Neither could I. Originally, I pointed out. That is why I saved for a year. The next morning, I woke to several text messages from Jessica, each more frantic than the last. What happened to the sunset dinner cruise? The hotel says we do not have access to the beach club or infinity pool. Where is the Road to Hana tour? Tyler, what did you do? I called her back after finishing my coffee. What seems to be the problem, Jessica? I asked. Everything is the problem, she nearly shouted. All the amazing activities you told us about are gone. The hotel says they were all canceled last week. That is correct, I confirmed. I adjusted the package when the guest list changed. What does that even mean? She demanded. It means that when you and Dad decided that Raymond should take my place, I reconfigured the vacation to reflect my new level of investment in it. So you ruined our vacation out of spite, she accused. I did not ruin anything, I countered. You are still in Hawaii. You still have hotel rooms and flights home. That is more than I have right now. But this was supposed to be a luxury vacation. You showed us pictures of infinity pools and private cabanas and gourmet meals. That was the vacation I planned for myself. You and Mom and Dad, I explained. The one I saved for a year to afford. When you decided I was not welcome, the vacation changed. I cannot believe you would do this to us, she said, her voice cracking. Mom is so disappointed. The anniversary dinner you promised is gone. Raymond is furious. Raymond is furious, I repeated incredulously. Raymond, who contributed nothing but is enjoying a free trip to Hawaii, is furious about the quality of his handout. He took time off work for this, she defended. Jessica, he does not have a job. He has not had a job in 3 years. He has been doing consulting work. Playing Fortnite is not consulting. She made a sound of frustration. You have ruined everything. Mom is crying. Dad is trying to find activities we can afford. And Raymond had a complete meltdown at the front desk when they said we cannot access the infinity pool. That sounds challenging, I said neutrally. Perhaps Raymond could pay for some upgrades if he is so disappointed. You know he cannot afford that right now. Neither could I until I saved for a year, I reminded her. Actions have consequences, Jessica. You and Dad made a choice. This is the consequence. She hung up on me. Over the next few days, the calls and texts continued, each revealing a new disappointment or inconvenience my family was experiencing. The regular hotel beach was crowded and noisy, not the exclusive paradise I had originally booked. The standard rooms were small and lacked the amenities of the luxury suites. The public areas of the resort were packed with tourists, without the private spaces that would have been available in the original package. To add insult to injury, a tropical storm hit the island on the 4th day, confining them to their small rooms for 24 hours. Had they been in the ocean view suites, they could have at least enjoyed watching the dramatic weather over the Pacific. Instead, they huddled in standard rooms, staring at the parking lot or the back of another hotel building. Jessica's Instagram, which had begun with boastful posts about her Hawaiian vacation, went conspicuously silent after the first day. My mother stopped calling to complain and instead sent brief strained texts asking about mundane matters back home, as if trying to pretend everything was fine. My father, however, grew increasingly angry. His calls became more confrontational, culminating in a late-night tirade on their 5th day. You deliberately sabotaged this trip, he accused. You humiliated us in front of the hotel staff. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it was to be downgraded at check-in? To be told all our premium experiences had been canceled? To be denied entry to the beach club in front of everyone? I imagine it was almost as embarrassing as being told by your father that your sister's unemployed boyfriend deserves your vacation spot more than you do, I replied. That silenced him momentarily. This was supposed to be about celebrating our anniversary, he finally said, his voice lower. Yes, it was, I agreed. That was my intention when I spent $12,000 on a luxury vacation package that included a private beachfront dinner with a personal chef and photographer. But when you decided Raymond was more important than me, the celebration changed accordingly. We never said he was more important. My father insisted, echoing my mother's earlier protest. You did not have to say it. You showed it clearly through your actions. We will discuss this when we get home, he said tersely, before hanging up. On what should have been their final full day in paradise, I received an unexpected text from my mother, coming home early. Flight arrives tomorrow at 2 p.m. instead of Saturday. Raymond and Jessica fighting constantly. Your father barely speaking to anyone. I felt a twinge of satisfaction mixed with genuine sadness. This was not the outcome I had wanted when I first planned the trip. I had imagined creating beautiful memories and bringing the family closer together. Instead, existing tensions had been exposed and new ones created. But perhaps that was necessary. Perhaps the fantasy of a perfect family needed to be shattered before any real healing could begin. As I prepared for their early return and the inevitable confrontation that would follow, I felt strangely calm. For the first time in my adult life, I had stood up for myself against my family's unfair expectations. Whatever happened next, I knew I would never go back to being the reliable doormat they had taken for granted for so long. My family returned from Hawaii, looking sunburned, exhausted, and thoroughly miserable. I deliberately avoided being at the airport for their arrival, instead giving them time to settle back at home before any confrontation occurred. The day after their return, I received a scathing email from my father. The subject line read, "Reimbursement expected. Tyler, your childish and vindictive behavior has cost this family thousands of dollars in lost experiences and created unnecessary stress and embarrassment. We expect to be reimbursed for the following expenses we incurred, trying to salvage the vacation you ruined. Upgrade fees for one dinner at the resort restaurant, $243. Rental car for 2 days when scheduled tours were canceled, $178. Replacement anniversary dinner at local restaurant, $315. Beach equipment rental would have been included in premium package, $95, taxi fares. Due to lack of scheduled transportation, $162. Total $993. Please transfer this amount immediately. We will discuss your inappropriate behavior when you are ready to apologize. Dad." I read the email twice, amazed at the continued entitlement and complete lack of self-awareness. After careful consideration, I drafted a response that documented the entire situation from my perspective. Dad, I appreciate you itemizing the additional expenses you incurred during your trip. However, I believe we need to clarify the full financial picture. Original luxury vacation package I paid for. For myself, you, Mom, and Jessica. $12,000. Value of the adjusted package you received approximately $7,000. Difference, $5,000. This means I have effectively already contributed $7,000 toward a vacation I was not permitted to attend. I think this more than covers the $993 in additional expenses you listed. Regarding an apology, I agree that one is needed. I would appreciate an acknowledgement that 1. It was inappropriate to ask me to give up my spot on a vacation I planned and paid for. 2. Raymond was not entitled to take my place. 3. My feelings and contributions were disregarded. When you are ready to discuss these points, I am willing to meet. Until then, I consider the financial aspect of this matter closed. Tyler. I did not receive a response to my email, but 3 days after their return, my mother called to request a family meeting at their house. Everyone needs to talk this through, she said. Things got out of hand. Will Raymond be there? I asked. No, she replied after a pause. Just you, me, your father, and Jessica. I agreed to the meeting scheduled for Sunday afternoon. I spent the days leading up to it, preparing mentally for what would undoubtedly be a difficult conversation. When I arrived at my parents' house, the atmosphere was tense. My father sat stiffly in his recliner, my mother perched anxiously on the couch, and Jessica occupied an armchair, her eyes red from crying. I took the remaining seat, a straight-back chair from the dining room that had been placed across from all of them like I was facing a tribunal. "Thank you for coming," my mother began formally. "We need to resolve this situation as a family." My father wasted no time getting to the point. "What you did was completely unacceptable, Tyler. You deliberately sabotaged our vacation, out of spite." I adjusted the vacation to match the new circumstances. I corrected him. "When you decided I was not welcome, the vacation changed accordingly." "We never said you were not welcome," my mother protested. "You literally told me not to come," I reminded her. "You said Raymond should take my place." "Because Jessica needed him there," my father argued. "Her emotional well-being was at stake." "And mine was not?" I asked. "Did anyone consider how it would affect me to be told I was not wanted on a vacation I had spent a year planning and saving for?" "You have always been more independent, more self-sufficient," my mother said, repeating her earlier justification. "That does not mean my feelings matter less," I pointed out. "It does not mean I deserve less consideration." Jessica spoke up, her voice raw. "You ruined what should have been an amazing experience. Mom and Dad's anniversary celebration was a disaster because of you." "No, Jessica," I said firmly. "It was a disaster because you insisted your unemployed boyfriend deserved my spot on the vacation. It was a disaster because Mom and Dad supported that entitlement." "Raymond is going through a difficult time," she insisted. "For 3 years," I challenged. "At what point does a difficult time become simply who he is?" "That is unfair," my father interjected. "Raymond has been looking for work." "Has he? Really? When was his last job interview? What jobs has he applied for recently? What steps has he taken to improve his situation?" The uncomfortable silence that followed was telling. "Let me be very clear about what happened," I continued. "I spent $12,000, money I earned and saved, to create a special family experience. When plans changed to exclude me, I adjusted the package to reflect my new level of investment. The vacation you received was still worth approximately $7,000. You still went to Hawaii. You still stayed at a resort. You still had access to beaches and pools. Substandard accommodations. And no special experiences," my father muttered. "Which is still more than I got," I pointed out. "I got nothing except the knowledge that my family values Raymond's feelings above mine." "That is not true," my mother insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. "It is demonstrably true. Your actions proved it." I pulled out my phone and opened a document I had prepared. "Let me break this down clearly. The original package included Ocean View Suites, $5,600, premium experiences, helicopter tour, road to Hana, etc. $3,200. Anniversary dinner with private chef, $1,500. Beach club and premium amenity access, $800. First-class flights, $900 additional. What you received? Standard Mountain View rooms, $2, $800, no. Premium experiences, $0. No anniversary dinner, $0. Standard amenity access, $0. Basic economy flights included." The difference in value was approximately $5,000. So even with the adjustments, I still provided a $7,000 vacation for people who explicitly told me I was not welcome. My father shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The detailed breakdown seemed to be making an impact. "But what about our anniversary?" my mother asked quietly. "That private dinner you planned sounded so special." "It would have been," I agreed. "The chef was going to prepare a custom menu recreating dishes from your honeymoon. The photographer would have captured professional images as the sun set. It would have been a once-in-a-lifetime experience." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "And none of that mattered," I continued, "when weighed against Raymond's desire for a free vacation." Jessica stood up suddenly. "This is ridiculous. You are making Raymond sound like some kind of freeloader." "Isn't he?" I asked calmly. "What has he contributed to this family? What has he contributed to your relationship? He lives in your apartment, drives your car, spends your money, and now expected to enjoy a luxury vacation I paid for." "You do not know anything about our relationship," she shouted. "I know that he threw a tantrum at the hotel front desk when he was denied access to the infinity pool on a vacation he did not pay for," I said. Does that sound like someone who appreciates what he has been given? Jessica's face crumpled. You do not understand. Then help me understand, Jessica. What exactly has Raymond contributed to your life that makes him more deserving of my vacation spot than me? Instead of answering, she burst into tears and stormed out of the room. An uncomfortable silence descended. My father stared at the floor while my mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Perhaps we handled this poorly. My father finally admitted, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. Perhaps I echoed. He sighed heavily. We should not have asked you to give up your spot. It was your trip. You paid for it. You planned it. It was the first acknowledgement of wrongdoing, however tentative. No, you should not have, I agreed. And you should not have treated my feelings as less important than Jessica's or Raymond's. My mother reached out hesitantly and touched my arm. We never meant to hurt you, Tyler. We just got so caught up in trying to keep the peace with Jessica. That has been the pattern my entire life, I said. Jessica demands, throws tantrums, manipulates, and everyone rushes to appease her. Meanwhile, I work hard, contribute, act responsibly, and get taken for granted. My father looked up, meeting my eyes directly for the first time. You are right, he said simply, and I am sorry. The words seemed to cost him considerable effort, but they were sincere. Did something happen with Raymond on the trip? I asked, sensing there was more to the story. My parents exchanged glances. He was difficult, my mother said carefully. Difficult how? Ungrateful, my father admitted. Complained constantly about the accommodations, the food, the beach being too sandy, the sun being too hot. He spent most of the trip either drinking at the hotel bar or playing games on his phone, my mother added. He and Jessica fought constantly. He proposed to her on the third day, my father said, right in the middle of a restaurant. This was unexpected news. And? She said no, my mother replied. Said she needed time to think. That is when things really deteriorated. He accused her of leading him on, my father continued. Said she had promised they would get engaged in Hawaii. The pieces began falling into place. So Jessica's insistence that Raymond come on the trip was partly because she had told him they would get engaged there, my mother confirmed. But after seeing how he behaved when things were not perfect, she started having doubts, my father finished. I sat back processing this new information. So the entire family vacation was hijacked for a proposal that did not even happen. It appears so, my father admitted. As if on cue, Jessica returned to the room, her face puffy from crying, but her expression more composed. Raymond and I broke up, she announced. He moved out yesterday while I was at work. Took some of my things with him. Jessica, I am sorry, I said, and meant it despite everything. She shook her head. Do not be. You were right about him. The way he acted on that trip, it was like seeing him clearly for the first time. She looked at me directly. I should never have asked you to give up your spot for him. I was selfish and entitled, and I am sorry. Her apology, unlike our father's, came easily and seemed genuinely heartfelt. I have been enabling his behavior for years, she continued, making excuses, supporting him financially, defending him to everyone. The whole time he was just using me. That must be painful to realize, I said. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks again. It is. But it is also a relief in a way, like waking up from a bad dream. The conversation that followed was one of the most honest our family had ever had. We talked about long-established patterns, Jessica's emotional manipulation, our parents' enabling behavior, my tendency to sacrifice my own needs to keep the peace. We acknowledged painful truths and made tentative commitments to change. It was uncomfortable, sometimes heated, but ultimately necessary. By the end of the evening, something had shifted. The old dynamics had been disrupted, creating space for something healthier to emerge. As I prepared to leave, my father pulled me aside. I was wrong, he said simply. I put Jessica's demands above your feelings, and that was unfair. I hope you can forgive me eventually. It was not a perfect apology, but it was a start. The 2 months following our confrontation brought significant changes to our family dynamic. Like a bone that breaks and heals stronger at the fracture point, Our relationships began to mend in ways that made them more resilient than before. Jessica's breakup with Raymond proved permanent, despite his multiple attempts to reconcile. We discovered he had been cheating on her with a woman from his online gaming community for nearly a year. His behavior during and after the Hawaii trip had finally allowed Jessica to see what everyone else had long recognized, that he was selfish, entitled, and ultimately using her for financial support. I keep thinking about all the red flags I ignored Jessica admitted during a coffee meetup, just the two of us. All the times he had bad luck with jobs or sudden unexpected expenses that I ended up covering. It can be hard to see clearly when you are emotionally invested, I offered. She stirred her latte thoughtfully. The worst part is, I dragged the whole family into my delusion. I ruined Mom and Dad's anniversary trip. I got you kicked off your own vacation. All for someone who did not even care about me. You did not do it alone, I reminded her. Mom and Dad made their choice too. Still, I am so sorry, Tyler. Truly. What I did was selfish and entitled, and you did not deserve it. Her apology was genuine, and over the following weeks, I saw real efforts from her to change her behavior. She started therapy to address her pattern of codependent relationships and began taking more responsibility for her choices. She even paid me back part of the vacation cost from her savings, insisting it was important for her own sense of accountability. My father took longer to come around fully. His pride made it difficult for him to admit the extent of his error in judgment. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions showed a new awareness of the unfair dynamics he had perpetuated. A month after Hawaii, he invited me on a fishing trip, just the two of us, something we had not done since I was a teenager. As we sat in a small boat on Lake Michigan, the sun rising over the water, he finally offered the apology I had been waiting for. I failed you as a father, he said, his eyes fixed on his fishing line. I should have stood up for you. I should have recognized the value of what you were offering our family. Instead, I took you for granted, because you have always been the reliable one. That hurt more than losing the vacation, I admitted, feeling like I mattered less than Raymond. He nodded, finally looking at me. You have always been the son any father would be proud of. Somewhere along the way, I started expecting your success rather than celebrating it. I started seeing your strength as a reason to focus more on Jessica's struggles, rather than as something to appreciate. And now I asked. Now I see what I almost lost, he said simply. And I do not intend to make that mistake again. It was not a magical transformation. There were still moments of tension, old habits that resurfaced, assumptions that needed to be challenged. But there was also a new willingness to acknowledge these patterns and work on changing them. My mother, always the peacemaker, found herself in new territory as she stopped trying to smooth over conflicts and instead began addressing the underlying issues. She no longer made excuses for Jessica's behavior or expected me to be the one who always compromised. I think I enabled a lot of unhealthy dynamics in this family, she confessed during a lunch we shared. I was so focused on avoiding conflict that I allowed unfairness to become the norm. That is a hard pattern to break, I acknowledged. But necessary, she said firmly. I want both my children to feel equally valued and respected. The most significant change was in our family gatherings. Sunday dinners resumed about 6 weeks after Hawaii, but with a different atmosphere. Conversations were more authentic, disagreements more respectfully handled. We talked about real issues, rather than maintaining a facade of perfect family harmony. For my part, I worked on setting clearer boundaries while remaining open to genuine reconciliation. I declined invitations when I needed personal time, expressed my feelings more directly, and stopped automatically taking on the peacekeeper role in family conflicts. I also began planning a vacation of my own, a 2-week trip to Italy with a woman I had recently started dating. It was something I had always wanted to do, but had put off while prioritizing family obligations. You deserve this trip, Jessica said when I mentioned my plans. And I promise not to ask if Raymond can come along, she added with a self-deprecating smile. We both laughed, the joke a sign of healing, rather than lingering resentment. 3 months after the Hawaii disaster, we held a belated anniversary celebration for my parents, a simple but elegant dinner at their favorite local restaurant. It was not a beachfront feast in Maui, but, in some ways, it was more meaningful. We were present not out of obligation or manipulation, but from a genuine desire to celebrate their marriage and our evolving family bonds. As we raised our glasses in a toast, I reflected on the lessons of the past few months. Sometimes, the most painful experiences lead to the most necessary growth. Sometimes relationships need to break before they can be rebuilt stronger. And sometimes, standing up for yourself is the most loving thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for those who have been taking you for granted. The Hawaii vacation that never happened for me became something more valuable than a week in paradise. It became the catalyst for honest conversations, authentic connections, and a family dynamic based on mutual respect rather than established roles and expectations. To Mom and Dad, I said, raising my glass. 35 years of marriage, and hopefully many more, and to new beginnings for all of us. As we clinked glasses, I caught my father's eye across the table. His nod of acknowledgement contained everything that needed to be said. Recognition of what had been lost, appreciation for what had been gained, and commitment to a different path forward. The vacation I had planned was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime. Instead, it became a turning point in our lives. And in the end, that was worth far more than $12,000 could ever buy. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who took you for granted? What boundaries have you set that improved your relationships in the long run? Drop a comment below sharing your experience. I would love to hear how you handled similar situations. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more real-life stories, and share with someone who might need encouragement to value themselves. Remember, sometimes the most difficult conversations lead to the most meaningful connections. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to stand firm when it matters most.